For today's lesson, we will talk about animal consciousness and experiments on languages and animals. First, let us define the word consciousness. According to Merriam-Webster, consciousness is the state of being aware, especially of something within oneself, meaning it is the individual awareness of one's unique thoughts, memories, feelings, sensations, and environments. So now, what is animal consciousness? Animal consciousness is the quality or state of self-awareness within a non-human animal. Basically, we have distinctions that we can say that an animal is conscious. First, we have self-awareness. Self-awareness means to be conscious and means to be awake or receptive to stimulus received from the surrounding environment. Often, when we are saying that someone is asleep or unresponsive, one is said to be unconscious. If we are unable to register the events and things that are happening around us, then we aren't able to react. In simple words, one must have the ability to internalize what one observes and to respond accordingly. There is a popular test for consciousness that scientists are using. We have the mirror test. In mirror testing, a dot is painted on the forehead of an anesthetized animal and its reaction when it sees itself in the mirror is being studied. Does the animal rub the spot? Does the animal move its body to get a better view? If these things happen, then it indicates that the animal recognizes itself by its reflection. Factually, only few animals pass this test, and most of them are apes and some members of the great ape family. Next is critical thinking. Critical thinking is the capacity to reason, think, analyze, and make logical decisions. It is said that instinctual behavior in animals are not sufficient characteristics for having self-consciousness. Although it involves mental presence, still, you can say that one is conscious when that living thing is able to think critically and make decisions out of it. For example is a crab. When a crab is placed in a tank and you put light on it, it will search for a place where it can hide itself. And kapag ginalaw mo siya doon sa lugar na kung saan siya nagtatago, aalis siya doon at hindi na siya babalik doon where it felt pain. That involves the instinctual behavior of the crab. Pero pwede mo ba siyang tanungin kung bakit ayaw niya nang bumalik doon? Siyempre hindi kasi hindi naman siya makakapagsalita. They can only use their instincts but they could not tell you what they are feeling. That is when the issue about the language capacity enters. Animals can communicate with each other but they are not considered to have a language. Yes, it is accepted that animals can communicate with each other, but they don't have the ability to speak in humanly constructed sentence. Therefore, we can say that animals are considered of not having language. Of course, they have the ability to make sounds because that is one of their ways on how they will communicate with other animals. But they do not possess the ability to create and interpret spoken and written words. Many people use the terms communication and language interchangeably because they seem like the same thing. But of course, animal language and animal communication is different. Communication is said to be the expression of information to another, while language is the ability to put words together to form sentences. In reality, animals don't have the ability to put words together to form sentences. But they have their ways on how they will communicate with each other. The first is vocalizations, such as dog growling at one dog to another to display aggression, or bird calls to maintain territory. Next is non-vocal noises, such as a dolphin slapping its tail on the water surface to warn another dolphin of danger. And smell, such as a male lion scent marking its territory to tell other male lions to stay away. And color, such as a humboldt squid flashing bioluminescent colors to send signals to other squid. or visual displays such as a peacock displaying its tail feathers and dancing to attract a mate, or the appropriately named peacock spider who has the elaborate dance and colorful display to impress females. So, growing up, our thought is that the man is the superior of all living things, and being the superior, we are capable of understanding what an animal wants to convey even if they cannot speak and create words. How do animals communicate? When we were talking about animal behavior or animal communication, an animal can transmit information to another animal. It causes some kind of change or response in the animal that gets the information. This communication often happens between members of the same species, though it can also happen of the animals in different species.
Is on how different animals communicate. There are two modes on how animals communicate: visual and auditory. Visuals related to seeing or sight. Auditory refers more to hearing than to sound. The ability to perceive sound by detecting vibration and through an organ such as ear. Visuals includes gestures, the display of distinctive body parts or distinctive bodily movements. An example of this, a lamb investigate a rabbit. An example of interspecific communication using body posture and olfaction. Facial expression also includes in visual. Facial gesture is a signal of emotion. It plays the important role in animal communication.
We have common forms of animal communication. Number one is pheromones. It is a chemical signal being released by an animal that is used to trigger a response in another individual of the same species. This signal is common among social insects like ants and bees. An ant can deposit pheromones on both outgoing and return legs of their trip, building up the trail and attracting more ants. They can also stop adding pheromone on the way back, letting the trail fade out. The next is auditory signals. This communication is based on sound and is widely used in the animal kingdom. This communication is particularly important in birds. They use these sounds to convey warnings, attract mates, defend territories, and coordinate group behaviors. The third one is one of the two modes in animal communication. This is the visual signals. This communication involves signals that can be seen, like gestures, facial expressions, body postures, and coloration. For instance, a chimpanzee can communicate a threat by raising their arms, slapping the ground, or staring directly at another chimpanzee. The changes in coloration also serve as visual signals. Another example is the bright coloration of some toxic species, like the poison dart frog, that acts as a do not eat warning signal to predators. The last one is tactile signals or touch. These signals are more limited in range than the other types of signals, as two organisms should be right next to each other in order to touch. These signals play an important role in social relationships. For example, in primate species, the members of the group will groom one another and remove parasites and performing other hygiene tasks. This behavior reinforces cooperation and social bonds among the group members. The purpose of their communication is number one, to obtain a mate. In many animals, they have to elaborate communication behaviors surrounding mating, which may involve attracting a mate or competing with other potential suitors for access to mates. The second one is to establish dominance or defend territory. In many species, the communication behaviors are important in establishing dominance in a social hierarchy or to defend their territory. The third one is to coordinate with group behaviors. In social species, communication is the key in coordinating the activities of the group. for example, in food acquisition and defense, and to maintain group cohesion. The last one is to care for the young. Among species that provide parental care to offspring, communication coordinates parent and offspring behaviors to help ensure that the offspring will survive.
How humans try to communicate with animals. Human can teach animals on a specific sponsor for specific conditions or stimuli. Training may be for purposes such as championship, detection, protection, research, and entertainment. Humans can communicate through a positive or negative reinforcement. And also, human communicates by giving signals with words, whistles, gestures, and body language.
There has been many experiments and several attempts to teach the language of human to animals. In 1930s, a chip named Gua was trained. He was able to understand the hundred of words, but he could not produce any of them. In 1960s, Washoe was taught American Sign Language. She learned how to sign more than 100 words, like airplane, baby, and banana. In 1980s, Kanzi, the bonobo, learned the word symbols not by being taught, but by being exposed to them at an early age. Therefore, either in human or animal communication, the language serves as a type of communication system that can be observed in a variety of different situations and can take into different forms. That ends our report on animal consciousness and experiments on languages in animals. Thank you for listening and have a good day.